So here's the reason why two people can do the exact same exercise and see vastly different results. And this is something that I've come up against a bunch of times in my career. And, especially now more than ever, where I'm taking a lot more online clients and doing less in-person assessments, the assessment or testing phase that I do in the first week is really important, but more so, it's really important for them to send me the videos of them lifting, because then that's the only way that I can really truly judge if things are done in a really good way. And so, like, as a side note, if you're an online coach or if you're a client that has an online coach, feedback, sending or asking for videos, like that stuff is going to absolutely change your life, because you'll be able to get a much better sense of how everything is moving. And then this is a perfect example. And so I see this a lot, primarily with compound movements. And in this case, the most recent one that happened was in a squat. And I got this new client. She's super strong, super jacked. And she's very proud of the numbers that she was lifting. And so then when we started this, first testing week, I had put up a bunch of movements. I put up the testing program I wanted her to go through, and I asked her for videos of every single lift. And I knew her squat was pretty heavy. Her squat was at about a 185 for like 4 or 5 reps, which is very solid. And then she hit her movements. And then when she sent me the video, I noticed that her squat was like above 90 degrees. It was not a very long or full range of motion squat by any means. And what we had to do from there is I had to start with the basic questions. Is it like a mobility issue? Is it that she can't squat that low in general? And really what it came down to, at first it was a discomfort thing, but then we realized it was only discomfort because she was still trying to use the same amount of weight. And she had never really squatted super low before. And so we had to have this conversation about, hey, listen, we got to back off this weight a little bit. And I know that's going to suck because people have their egos very much tied to the weights that they lift. But if you take a step back and you lower the weight and you focus on going through this full range of motion, the benefits are going to outweigh this temporary, hit that you're going to take to your ego. And so she did. And she ended up, I think bringing it down to like 115. But at 115, her squats were beautiful. She was able to hit a full depth, full range of motion. Her torso was really upright. Like everything looked really, really good. And so the funny thing is, though, is that this movement still became hard for her. And the reason why it's still hard is because she wasn't used to training in that low range of motion. So if you're only ever used to training, in this case for the squat, above 90 degrees, as soon as you break below that range of motion, that degree, it's like unknown, uncharted territory for you. So you're actually still going to get a really good training effect. And in the case that maybe it doesn't feel still as heavy as it should, then you just start to add tempos and pauses and different things to make it more difficult so that they actually end up building a lot more strength in that range of motion. And then the other crazy thing about what happens here is that even though, she wasn't really super stoked about having to go down in weight, the fact that the movement was difficult, the fact that we added in these different tempos, eccentric and concentric tempos, ended up with a result that her squat went from, 115 at full range of motion to 125 the next week to 145 a week and a half after that. And then she ended at about 4 weeks, 5 weeks later at like 160. So she wasn't even that far off of what she was doing before, but now she's doing it at a much longer range of motion. And I mean, you can argue everything you want about a perfect way to squat, and that's not what this is about. But what you can't argue with is the fact that if you train at a longer range of motion, you're going to get better results. If you train at long muscle lengths or full muscle lengths, you are going to get better results than people that train at shorter muscle lengths. And I don't really think you can argue with that.